Guess what, people? You see these bros sitting around this table, you see those chips, you see those cards, and you see those wagering amounts. That means that poker is underway.
What's up, guys, and hello from Mexico City. That's right, on a little trip, on a little getaway with my wife Boosie. Still doing some work while we're down here though, and yesterday that work included a live stream on my channel, playing on WPT Global, participated in the satellites to the WPT World Championship.
Folding. Hey, we did it! Somebody busted on the other table. Boom.
We did it! Thank you, stream viewers.
Nice. Nice work, everybody.
And what do you know? We won ourselves a $12,400 package on the live stream. That live stream is still up on the channel. I think I'll try and edit it down, chop it down to some highlights, maybe put it on the second channel. We'll see. But in the meantime, as always, if you guys are so interested and you guys can hop into the games on WPT Global, strongly recommend doing so. And as always, you can use code Andrew, which will get you a first deposit bonus match up to $1,200 plus an additional $50 when you deposit at least $100. Now, to the meat of this video, we're gonna throw it back to Texas, back to the lodge. These stream games, even though they're billed as 5-10 with a $10 ante, it's not gonna play that way. The double straddle is gonna be on throughout the entirety of the game. And these games, they can be billed on the the medium to small side, but they always end up on the medium to big side. So there's some big swings along the way, some big hands, some fun hands. Love for you guys to check it out. Enjoy. Chat soon.
Hand number 10 off of the deck. Nothing happened of note in hands 1 through 9. We arrive here at hand number 10 in the small blind, looking down at King Queen offsuit. Definitely raisable. Let's punch it up. No ordinary amount though in a 5-10 game with a 10 big blind ante. That's because the $25 straddle is on and the $50 straddle is on in front of Pierre. With that in mind, we make it 175 to go, and Pierre makes the call. So heads up, out of position versus Pierre, who's a great player, to 5-4 deuce rainbow. Not exactly the flop of dreams here. We don't flop any pairs or any draws, so I check it out of position, and Pierre checks it back, which gives us a free look at the turn card, which is the king of diamonds. Much better than the flop. That gives us top pair second kicker. We're gonna go ahead, fire out here for $150. Pierre is ready to release it immediately. He's got himself the Queen 8 suited, no connection on his part, drawing dead on the turn, lets it go. That $50 straddle is going to be on almost the entire time, so this is just a very Texas thing where the blinds get posted as some amount, but in reality you're actually playing a much bigger game. So as mentioned, even though it says 5-10-10 here, we're actually playing 5, 10, 25, 50, almost the entire time that we are in this game. So action gets underway here. I am in the +2 spot looking down at pocket threes, bump it up to 150 over that $50 straddle. Leortz, or Leo, makes the call out of the hijack on my direct left. Action over to the Jerky King, who is in the $25 straddle, and he wants to play for more money. He goes ahead and bumps this up to $525, and he's only got $1,750 behind. So it's not exactly a great spot with these pocket threes. We are getting nowhere near the appropriate odds to go set mining, and almost always there are going to be 3 overcards to our pocket threes. That being said, I did not fly all the way from Jacksonville, Florida, where the last WPT stop was, to Austin, Texas to fold pocket pairs to 3-bets when it is possible we can flop sets. Now, did we? Absolutely not. I toss in the additional $375, try and make some things happen here on the stream. Leo is smarter than me. He gets out of the way with his suited 1-gapper. And we go heads up to a flop in what is typically going to be a very unfavorable situation since we're so shallow. But the flop comes down Jack for 3, giving us bottom set. Turns out it is a pretty favorable spot. Love to see it. Jerky King continues here with a C-bet. It's a small one, $275. If we were significantly deeper here, I would, of course, raise this spot because there are flush draws and straight draws that are potentially available. If I have a hand like Ace-5 suited or King-Queen suited or 7-6 suited or Ace-Deuce suited, all sorts of possibilities that would make for great semi-bluffs to go along with our value bets, our value raises, such as bottom set. But in this spot, since the stack sizes are so shallow, I just toss in the call, and it won't be that difficult to get stacks in if Jerky King happens to have a good hand here. Turns an offsuit 10. That looks like a pretty good card. Shouldn't kill any action. However, this time Jerky King does check it over to me, which we're a little bit disappointed about. Maybe we could do some checking and hope that my opponent catches up, but I don't think we want to give any free cards. We want to put some more money in this pot. We've got a damn good hand. Let's go ahead and value bet it. I do so for a very small bet, $425, giving a pretty good price to a lot of hands here. We could have even just ripped it all in there on the turn. We could probably do that with some flush draws that we decided to not raise on the flop. So a couple of different options available there, but trying to entice an ace queen or ace king hand to continue. That is exactly what Jerky King has, the ace king of spades, and he makes a pretty wise fold here, letting it go. Just the ace high, we can't get value from that in this spot. We're going to take it down with a $1,000 profit in this hand. Things going well in the early going.
Mr. Neeme.
We jump ahead to hand number 23 here, and we are now in the midst of the nit game. You guys are very familiar with the nit game, I'm sure. If you're not, leave a comment down below. I'll fill you in all about it. All right, so as you guys can see, we got 1 limper, 2 limpers, 3 limpers over to us in the $50 straddle. Looking down at king 3 offsuit, we're going to go ahead and check this one. 4 ways to a flop that gives us top pair, terrible kicker, king jack 8 rainbow. Just going to check this one after it checks over to me. Leo is the first limper. He still has the nit button in front of him. He grabs some chips, and it's not a very small wager at all. He bets $375, which is actually an overbet here. 2 folds over to us. We got ourselves top pair. Don't exactly love it, but not going to fold top pair for 1 bet. I go ahead, toss in the call, and we go heads up to a turn card that is an offsuit 3. That's a pretty cool card. Now we upgrade to top and bottom pair. Check it over to Leo again, and he grabs lots of chips once again. This time there's a yellow one in there. That's a 1K chip and 2 black chips to go along with it. $1,200, which is another overbet in this spot. I think we have a little bit of a straightforward decision here, seeing as how Leo only has just under $1,500 behind in his stack. If he's semi-bluffing with a hand like Queen 10, I think we just want to go ahead and stick the money in there. Don't let him realize his equity without having to stick the rest of the chips in. If he's got a top pair holding, he's going to have to make a hero fold to get away from that. And if he's got us beat, then we're never getting away from it on the river anyway. So all of that adds up to us sticking it in. Cards are revealed. Leo was getting after it here. He's got the nit button in front of him. The nit button that will make you do some things that you might not normally do. He goes after it really hard here with top pair, trying to make something happen, trying to get rid of that nit button. And unfortunately for him, we turned 2 pair here. And if we hadn't, we would have surely folded to that $1,200 bet. If that turn was a 4 instead of a 3, we would have been out of there. But as it is, of course, never folding 2 pair. Things looking pretty good in the early going here. As mentioned, we are up $3,845. Only Cinnabon on my right has more winnings at this point. Very early going though, much more poker to come. And here we are looking at hand number 25. We've got ourselves a pretty good hand here. Pocket kings in the big blind. Action folds over to me. I make it $175 to go. Max out of the straddle spot. He's going to go ahead and make the call. Heads up to Jack 10-8 with 2 clubs. Very mediocre flop for us. We have no club in our hand. Very connected, very wet board here. I think on a position, betting or checking seems totally fine. This spot, I decide to check it. Max goes ahead and checks it back. Turn is not any better for us. It is the queen of clubs, 3rd club on board now. We do have an overpair. We do have an open ender now. And we're also going to be the only one with ace king here since there is no 3-bet pre-flop. But no club in our hand and a 1-liner to a straight. Going to check it. Max fires out for $250. Can't fold, of course. I go ahead and make the call. River pairs the board offsuit 8, so all things considered, it could be a decent card since we beat 2 pairs now. Check it over to Max once again, who decides to check it back. Gives us a little bit of hope here. We roll it over, but unfortunately, Max flopped pretty well, turned pretty well. Flopped the open ender plus a pair, turned the straight. Straight is good. Very next hand, these hands are coming fast for us in the early going. We see a couple of limps over to us in the small blind, looking down at pocket J's, 2 J's. Pocket jacks, we're gonna go ahead and raise this up, of course, and make it $300 to go. Speaking of J's, Dr. J is in there. He goes ahead and calls. Over to the Jerky King. He produces some fine jerky, and he produces a call in this spot. So 3 of us heading to a flop. Medium favorable. King 10-4 with 2 clubs. Just one overcard to our pocket pair. Could check it 3 ways, or I think we could bet it. I think our hand benefits from some protection, so I choose that route. I bet $300, somewhere around 1/3 the size of the pot. Dr. J, he ejects. Jerky King, he gets out of there as well. Both these guys had pocket pairs. The 3s and the 8s, luckily for us, do not connect on this board. Pocket jacks are good. It's such an easy hand to play, you guys. I hear a lot of discussion out there. Very simple. Bet, win. That inches us over the $4,000 mark on the P&Ls. So far, so good.
About 25.
All right, now we jump ahead. We go a little bit card dead, but here we find pocket 7s in hand number 46. We're going to go ahead and raise this one up to the standard $150. Leo makes the call to the hijack. Pierre makes the call out of the dealer spot. Rest of the guys are out of there. So we've got ourselves a 3-way flop. That flop is ace, jack, 7 with 2 diamonds. And you know what, guys? Do you know how good it feels to flop a set in a medium big size game on a live stream as the pre-flop raiser? It feels pretty damn good. I'm gonna go ahead and fire out here for $150. Leo on my left makes the call. Pierre also in there. He goes ahead and makes the call. So still 3 ways to a turn card. Turn card, not my favorite. 10 of diamonds, actually one of the worst cards. Both king, queen, and 8-9 get there. Not to mention flush draws. We do have a diamond in our hand, makes things slightly better. And I definitely don't want to give a free card to single diamonds. If someone does have a flush or a straight here, we can still improve versus those hands. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire again. This time, $250. Leo thinks about it for a bit, lets it go. Pierre doesn't think for hardly at all, lets it go. That turns out they both had queen jack. Nobody has a diamond. They do turn a gutter to go along with their holdings, but 3 diamonds on board, not all that enticing. Second pair, gut shot. They let it go. 7s, bottom set, that's good. $700 profit from these pocket 7s. In this hand, Pierre raises it up out of the cutoff, makes it $125 to go. I think that's probably the perfect sizing. Slightly more annoying. The 150 is a little bit more round of a number. A little bit more satisfying. Can't blame Pierre. I mean, look where he's from. Big Daddy Chaz comes in with the 3-bet out of the small blind. He goes ahead and bumps it up to $550. And it's over to us in the $50 straddle spot with a very interesting decision. We've got ace queen offsuit. Cold calling is almost always terrible. It feels like we just cap our range so hard when we do that. Folding a hand like ace queen offsuit versus these maniacs that live in Texas, that feels pretty miserable as well. Pierre should have a decently wide enough range out of the cutoff. Big Daddy Chaz, that man likes to mix it up perhaps more than anybody on this table. So him 3-betting out of the small blind, we don't necessarily have to give him too much credit here, especially when we have a hand like ace queen that has removal to tons of strong hands. So we're going to go ahead and 4-bet this one. It's going to be a 4-bet fold. If we get jammed on here by either of these guys, we're just going to have to let it go. But we're going to go for it here. We're going to stick in the 4-bet. It's yellow chip time. Drop one of those and 2 black chips. $1,200 over the line. Pierre gets out of there very quickly, and BDC thinks about it only slightly longer, but not really. He goes ahead and folds the king jack off suit. I show the guys what we're working with. I decided I did not want to get jammed on. Hand was forced. Had to do it. Had to go for it. Turns out we had the best hand. All right, once again, we are in the midst of the knit game. I've got my button in front of me, and so when action folds over to me in the cutoff, and I look down at 8-6 offsuit, you know what? Good enough. Good enough to get after it in the knit game. I go ahead and raise it up to $200. Action over to Big Daddy Chaz, who defends the straddle. Heads up to ace 6-4 with 2 diamonds. Pretty good flop for us, all things considered. We got a range advantage here. We can have all the sets. We can have ace 6 suited, ace 4 suited. If we got 8-6 suited, we can have 6-4 suited. So we can have all the strongest hands on this board. When BDC checks it to me, of course we're firing here. I bet $150. If we fold out a hand like queen jack, that's a pretty good result. Folding out that kind of equity seems good. BDC does not fold though, as per usual. He is in there. Tough to get through Mr. Big Daddy Chaz. He makes the call. Turn, that's a favorable one. 8-6 offsuit turns into 2 pair somehow. We are running pretty good in this show so far. BDC checks it to me. It's a little bit funny. I'm trying not to laugh. I got a terrible hand here that has become a pretty damn good hand. Going to go ahead and fire again here. The 5-7 completes. That hand is going to check raise at least some percentage of the time though. Of course we're wagering, and I bet $400 in this spot. BDC thinks about it briefly before making the call. Off to a river card, which is a pretty big brick in this spot. It's an offsuit queen. Typically, the only hand that would improve would be ace queen and maybe a queen high flush draw. So in these kinds of spots, when there's a straight on board and we are very much more likely to have that straight than our opponent is, considering that he never check raised on any of the prior streets. And the river breaks out and the other draws miss. I think we want to go large. Pretty good spot to find an overbet with both bluffs, maybe a hand like 4-5 suited, 6-7 suited, 10-7 suited, something that blocks the straights but is unlikely to win at showdown. Those are the kinds of hands that we would bluff big with. Our value bets, of course, 2 pairs or better, maybe even ace king. So I'm definitely going to size up here with a good hand such as 2 pair. I assemble a wager of $1,700, which is a slight overbet. That one puts Big Daddy Chaz into the blender a bit, which is always fun.
1,700, slight overbet here. 1,700 into 1,550.
Eventually, he finds the correct fold, lets it go, and we get to show him our terrible hand that makes 2 pair. It's an easy game, you know. When you raise with garbage and you make 2 pairs, sometimes poker is easy. Moving right along here, hand number 62. Just a $25 straddle on in this hand, and we see Jerky King coming in for the limp. We've got the Jack-8 of hearts in the hijack. It's certainly not mandatory, but let's keep these V-pips up, people. Let's get in the mix, keep splashing around, and go ahead and raise it up to $100. Leo on my direct left, he's got himself the nip button in front of him, and he goes ahead and 3-bets us to $250. Max makes the cold call on the dealer button. Jerky King, the cold call from the under the gun limping spot. We're getting an incredible price now with our Jack-8 suited. I'm in there, of course. 4 ways to Jack 10-5 with 2 clubs gives us top pair. Very mediocre kicker here. Check it over to Leo, the pre-flop 3-better, who continues for $450. Max thinks about it briefly, lets it go. Jerky King, he is out of there as well with his deuces. Over to us, we can't do anything other than make the call. Heads up to a turn that is the 7 of clubs, completing the front door flush draw, but it does give us a gut shot. Check it over to Leo here, who looks down at his cards, sees what he's got, doing that club check thing. Is it legit? Is it a head fake? Not sure yet, but we might find out. Pot is $1,950, and Leo continues betting here for $500. 25% of the pot. We've still got top pair. We add a straight draw. I don't think we can go anywhere for that price. Chucking it in there, seeing what happens on the river. The river pairs the 7. So we still have top pair on this board. Check it over to Leo. Kind of hoping we can get to showdown here. Can't really call a big bet, I don't think, in this spot. He's got about a pot-sized wager left in his stack, but he goes in a very different direction, does Leo. He grabs a very small amount of chips relative to the size of this pot. It's another $500 wager. That is what a 1/6 pot-sized bet looks like. Definitely don't like it. Definitely feels milky. We can beat hands such as ace king or ace queen, especially those that have a club might go for the bluff. Not sure if they choose this sizing. Don't love it, but feels impossible to fold top pair for this sizing. I go ahead, make a not very smooth call here, drop the purple chip eventually over the line, and we see that Leo has the ace-8 of clubs, puts the 3-bet in pre-flop with a hand that dominates us, finds a good flop, finds a good turn, and milks us on the river. Time for a dealer change. I actually fired that dealer. That is Clay. That'll be his last hand. I don't appreciate him making me lose that hand. So nice knowing you, Clay. And Liz will now be dealing for us going forward. All right, hand number 64 sees BDC out of the small blind, coming in for the raise, $150. Over to us in the straddle spot, looking down at suited Broadway, holding King Jack of diamonds. These are very pretty, very 3-bettable hands, and we're going to do it. We're going to go after it. Go ahead, bump this up to $450, 3x the initial raise. BDC thinks about it for a little bit. Gave him too good of a price, that man. Tough to get him off of a hand. He goes ahead and makes the call. Heads up to a flop that comes down 10-8 for Rainbow, but 2 backdoors and 2 overcards for us. After our opponent checks it, let's go ahead and c-bet it. $350 seems good to me. We could actually go maybe a little bit bigger here. These 10-high rainbow boards, they make for good candidates to go pretty large. This size, not terrible, I don't think. BDC agrees, he makes the call, and we see the 9 of spades on the turn, which is pretty interesting because it adds a backdoor flush draw, puts 3 to a straight on board, gives us an open ender. That last part most interesting to me personally because we do have removal to the best hands, which are straights. We're not going to win with king high, so we could take a free card or we could go ahead and wager here. If we fire here, I think we're going to have to fire on blank rivers, but that's fine. I go ahead and decide on an amount of $700, drop that over the betting line. We can pull out some ace high holdings here. I think we can pull out some small pocket pairs like deuces, 3s, 5s. Plenty of hands that can continue though, and B2C decides he's going to continue, and he's going to continue in a big way. He's going to continue with a check raise Obviously, this is not what we wanted to see. He goes ahead and raises it up to $2,600, which is a $1,900 raise. Don't love it. Don't love it, guys. Not going to lie. Not really what I had in mind. I guess I should have taken the free card. Definitely kicking myself in this spot because I have equity, but this equity is getting expensive. We're never drawing dead here. We are in pretty rough shape if we happen to be up against Queen Jack. We could still hit a queen in order to make the nuts versus that hand, and wouldn't that be sweet? If we were out of position facing this kind of a raise, I think we would probably have to let this go because drawing to a straight with a potential flush draw on board from out of position, it would possibly make it tough to get called when we do improve. But seeing as how we're in position, we've got ourselves an open ender. We can still draw to the nuts here. We can even improve versus Queen Jack. Nobody likes a quitter, do they? Gonna have to go ahead and defend the home turf here. Actually, I don't know. It feels weird. Is this my home turf or is this Big Teddy Chaz's home turf? He's the Texan in this hand. Whatever. I'm chucking in the call. Let's see a river dealer. And that river is the 7 of spades, which is definitely an interesting one. Third spade now on the board, but we do improve to a jack high straight. We're not going anywhere in this hand, no matter what happens. If our man happens to have the Queen Jack, he's going to get the maximum from us. If he backdoored into a flush, that's going to be pretty gross. But once again, he's going to win the maximum. That's if he decides to wager again. And wager he does. He goes ahead and rips it all in there. He covers us. And you hear me say, I don't think I'm going to be able to fold this one. Take a quick second look. I already know what I've got. I've got a straight. I'm calling. Bad news. BDC has 2 black cards and announces a flush. Good news is that he was just kidding.
There's the call.
Once again, this is another one of those spots where if I do not improve on the river, BDC is going to look like an absolute genius here. He's got himself Queen 4 offsuit, and he check raises the turn with a pretty good candidate. He's got removal to the nuts, and he's got bottom pair here, which a lot of the times is not going to be good. Turns out it was actually good in this spot. Pair of 4s was good, and if the river does not improve us, we're going to have to fold versus his all-in wager. He's going to get that one through, and we're just going to torch a bunch of money. But as it is, we're lucky enough to improve on the river. We make a hand that we can call down with, and we profit $7,300 in this hand. That's going to put us over the 5-figure mark, which is a pretty fun sight and pretty fun swing. Currently up $10,500. That being said, lots more poker to come. All right, let's get back into it. Hand number 78. We look down at a suited king out of the hijack. A little bit on the loose side, but totally fine. I think I go ahead and raise up to $150. Leo, on my direct left, punishes me right away. He goes ahead and 3-bets this to $450. Fair price, sir. We're pretty deep here. Let's go ahead and make the call. Heads up to a flop where we make a pair on 8-6-3. Check it, and Leo very quickly checks it back. Turn 4 diamonds. If he checks back this flop, chances are he hasn't improved on this turn card. I'm going to stab here, maybe go for a little bit of protection / value. Put out a small wager of $300. Leo thinks about it for a little bit and makes the call. River's pretty interesting. It's the 6 of diamonds, which gives us trips. Only thing we really have to worry about is a backdoor flush. Flushes are kind of hard to make. I like this card. If for some reason he happened to slow play a hand like pocket aces or kings or queens or jacks, which I kind of doubt, but is possible, I think we want to try and go for a lot of value. And if he's just got a hand like ace king or ace queen that he peeled the turn with, which is definitely possible, he's probably not going to call any river bet anyway. So I like a big bet here on the river, and I decide to bet $1,200. Leo starts getting a little shifty here, starts shifting back and forth, thinking things over. Not exactly sure what's going through his mind, but eventually he decides to put in a raise. He grabs his big chips, which ends up being $2,500, which is not a very big raise at all. And with trip 6s, I'm not exactly too sure what's going on here. Perhaps there's some chance he slow played pocket 8s. Perhaps he backed into a flush, or perhaps he is overvaluing an overpair. As it is, we've got ourselves trips, king kicker. If he's got a hand like 5-6 or 7-6, we even beat hands like that. Never doing anything for this price other than making the call. Toss that in, and we get shown some very bad news. Ace king of diamonds, which is quite the runout. The 6 of diamonds on the river is a very, very spicy card, giving us trips and giving Leo a flush, which is kind of miserable, I'm not going to lie, but at the same time, a little bit funny. We've been running extremely well in this poker game, and we are definitely due to experience the flip side of that, at least a little bit. Let's move on, shall we? On to hand number 80, in which we see a raise from Dr. J on the button up to 150 bucks. I got the $50 straddle on. BDC, he's having none of it. He comes in for the 3-bet out of the small blind. $650 is the new sizing, the new wager from Mr. Big Daddy Chaz. And it's over to us in a very familiar spot here, looking down at a suited Broadway holding. Once again, King Jack suited, this time in clubs. And once again, we're facing a 3-bet from Big Daddy Chaz with a suited Broadway holding. I think you guys know what the deal is at this point. Cold calling feels terrible. Folding a suited Broadway, 40% of a royal flush feels miserable. That's just going to leave one other option, 3-betting. Go ahead, grab that yellow chip once again and make it $1,400. Big Daddy Chaz says something along the lines of the fact that he's getting sick of me picking on him. And I don't blame him. This spot has come up a couple of times. It's not my fault, really. You know, it's just the nature of the card distribution. Big Daddy Chaz decides to make the call. Like I said, he is definitely not a quitter. He tosses in the call, and we go heads up to a flop. Ace, 6, deuce, rainbow. Backdoor clubs available, backdoor straight available. Ace high board definitely favors the aggressor pre-flop. Gonna go ahead, put out a wager. $800 is my sizing. These boards have been coming down much better for me than they had for Big Daddy Chaz. As we can see, he's got the Queen 8 also in clubs. He does not connect here. He's got himself a fold. No post-flop resistance this time. We show it down. We're playing the nit game here. I have to show it down in order to release my nit button. Fun hands. These hands are very fun when they work out. They don't always work out so easily, but so far I've been getting a lot of help from the boards. Action continues. Nit game very much in effect here. We can see these guys who are among the first to act. They all got nit buttons in front of them, and they're getting after it here. We see a raise from Dr. J. Goes ahead and bumps it up to 150 bucks. Big Daddy Chaz puts in yet another 3-bet. He makes it $500 to go. And now over to the Jerky King in the cutoff, who goes ahead and rips it in here. $1,340 according to the graphics. Over to us now in the small blind, and we look down at the Jays, the pocket Jays. Tons of action in front of us. We've got a raise, a 3-bet, a 4-bet jam, and pocket jacks. The 4-bet jam isn't that much relative to the game, I guess. In a $50 straddle game, it's not that many straddles. We're pretty deep here, though, with Big Daddy Chaz as well as with Dr. J. So I definitely don't want to go ahead and just pile all this money in the middle with pocket jacks. We've got these guys in there behind us who've already put in raises and re-raises, and the action hasn't got back to them yet. So I decided on the flat call here. Let's see what happens with these guys behind me. Dr. J, it looks like he wants to get involved, but he's still got Big Daddy Chaz behind him. He decides to let go of the 10-9 suited. Of course, can't blame him. BDC, he's going nowhere. He's already got $500 invested, calls the additional $840, off to a flop. 5-3 deuce, that's a pretty good flop, all things considered, for these pocket jacks. No overcards. Don't think we want to give any free cards here. Gonna have to wager something. I decided on a sizing of $1,050, which is pretty small. It's like a quarter size of the pot. Big Daddy Chaz, he whiffs this one. He's got the King, Queen of hearts. Happy to fold that hand out, but unfortunately, Jerky King has a better hand. He's got the best hand, in fact. He's got pocket aces. So he asked me if I want to run it once or twice. I say it's up to him. He says it's up to me. I say, all right, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's go one time here. See if we can find another jack. Turn is a king, and the river is a 6. So we're going to go ahead and triple up, more than triple up Mr. Jerky King here. Good news, though, is that he brought some free jerky samples for us to enjoy. Not sure he brought thousands of dollars worth of jerky, but can't win them all. Moving along, Dr. J coming in for the raise off of the dealer button. He makes it $150 to go. We're in the $50 big blind. The Johnson, Jack Deuce suited. Let's defend it. Queen 10-9 with 2 clubs. That's an open ender. Check it over to Dr. J. He checks it back. Turn pairs the queen. We've got ourselves Jack high here in that open ender. Let's stab. Why not? Maybe we can get a hand like Ace 5 to fold. I bet $100 here. He must not have an Ace 5 because he makes the call. River comes through for us again. 8 of clubs here. We've made a lot of hands on these runouts. We make a straight here on the river. I'm going to bet some money. This is high-level poker thinking. I bet $225. Kind of tough to get value here from too much worse. Don't think my opponent would check back flop with a queen, so he probably doesn't have trips here. There's 3 to a flush and 4 to a straight out there. And sure enough, my opponent has King 10 and lets that go. We collect some more chips. And we head to hand number 99 on the show. We see Big Daddy Chaz coming in for the raise from the hijack spot up to 150 bucks. We look down at a premium this time, pocket kings, which means we get to 3-bet BDC once again. We make it $650 this time. We're out of position, size up a little bit here. If you thought Big Daddy Chaz was going to fold, slap yourself. Not true. He's calling. Heads up to a flop. That comes down. Ace 5-4 rainbow. We don't love that. There's an ace out there. You know what they say. They call them the ace magnets. The ace All right. So I'm going to bet anyway. I bet $375. Don't want to just check, show weakness here. Put the bet out there, but Big Daddy Chaz, he's got absolutely nothing on this board. 9-8 offsuit, no pair, no draw. I show him I'm not picking on him after he folds. You know, I show him the kings. It's not just, randomly going after Big Daddy Chaz here. No, sir. I got the goods. Don't love the flop, but it is the goods. Very next hand, hand number 100 even. Action over to us on the dealer button. Going to go ahead and bump this one up to $250 because the $100 straddle is on in this hand. We got a pretty looking 7-5 of spades. Only Max in the big blind makes the call this time. Ace 10-3, 1 spade. We've got a couple back doors. Ace high board, typically good for us. We're going to go ahead and bet it. Unfortunately, we see a continue from Max in the form of a call. Turns to queen of clubs. We have no removal to strong hands. We've got no draw left, no hopes of anything whatsoever, so I check it back. Nothing materializes for us here. We got 7 high, and Max is betting money. That's going to lead to a fold. Lose that hand, but still on the top of the cumulative winnings chart. Still up over $7,000. Feels pretty good. We jump ahead 15 hands now. We go a little bit card dead towards the later stages of this game. Chip down slightly. $50 straddle on this time, and we see a couple of limpers before we're looking down at the ace-jack offsuit in the small blind. Let's raise it. Let's make it $350 out of the small blind. Chances are we got the best hand amongst these limpers. Dr. J makes the call. BDC and the hijack. He's, of course, going nowhere. He's in as well. Three ways to 9-6-3 with 2 diamonds. That one does not help us. We're out of position versus 2 other players. Just going to check this one, and action checks all the way through. Turns the deuce of spades. I check it. Dr. J checks it. You check the BDC twice. He's not one to check when he senses some weakness. He goes ahead and bets it. $600 here. I let it go. Dr. J gets out of the way. He had King Jack. We had him beat, but we also had BDC beat. He's got the ace 10 here. Like I said, if he's going to smell some weakness, he is going to go after it. Gets it done with a $600 bet. Take it down, Big Daddy Chaz. All right, the straddle on 5, 10, 25, 50, 100 game here in Austin, Texas. Jerky King comes in for the limp out of the hijack before we look down at a pocket pair. 2 4s on the button. Let's try and ISO that limper. I'm going to bump it up here. I make it $400 to go before action over to Max, who decides to 3-bet it, and I'm kicking myself. Why did I ISO? Why didn't I just limp along? We could have seen a relatively cheap flop with these pocket 4s, the small pair, flop a set for a much more reasonable price. Now we have Max 3-betting to $1,200. And you guys know how I feel about pocket pairs. Do I like folding these when sets are the most fun thing that you can do at a poker table? No, I do not. I toss in the extra $800 and we go heads up to a flop that comes down miserable. Ace, King 3, just about as good of a flop for the pre-flop aggressor as you could ask for. We got ourselves pocket 4s. Not too much hope on this kind of a board for us. Just going to go ahead and fold to the C-bet. Max shows us the Jack 10 suited. He had the worst of it here, but just barely. He's got himself 2 overs. He's got himself a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. If that's the bottom of his range, you can't feel too bad about folding the pocket 4s. That is going to eat into our winnings for sure. $1,200 off of the profit. A couple of other hands along the way where we dusted off slightly, but all things considered, we have ourselves a pretty smooth sailing day in the live stream studio at the Lodge in Round Rock, Texas.
Fun times at the Lodge, as always. Well, maybe not always, maybe not when I'm getting whacked in those games, but this one, no whackage on my part. This one works out for us. Long story short, we cash out of this game with a profit of $4,600. Good times, good crew. Enjoyed playing the poker with the crew that we had there on this day. And you know what? I always miss the lodge. It's such a good vibe there all the time, it seems. And of course, I'm a little bit biased, but I truly feel that way. I have such a good time every time I go play poker, whether it's in the main room, playing no limit, playing PLO, or in the stream games. Some decent chance that I will be back before the end of the year, but not sure on that just yet because we have the WPT World Championship just around the corner. Meetup game on December 1st at the Win to kick things off, and then it will be multiple weeks of some pretty awesome tournaments that we're gonna be firing in pretty hard. So much more poker to come. Looking forward to that. And if you're enjoying the vids, would love it if you would click subscribe. It helps me and it helps you find vids just like this one. All right, chat soon guys. Cheers.